Peppa Pig is a lot of fun most of the time, but there's no denying that she can be pretty unfair when she wants to be. Do you know all the mean things this little pig has done throughout her own animated series? The episode Dens perfectly shows how Peppa, the star of the series, sometimes doesn't care at all about other people's feelings and can be incredibly stubborn. In this story, she and George are playing in their treehouse when Peppa's friends arrive with Richard Rabbit and join them inside. They all start playing Tea Party until Pedro Pony and Danny Dog show up and want to join the game. The girls refuse, saying they don't want boys inside because boys are too noisy. But when Peppa realizes that George and Richard are still there, she just kicks them out, even though they were both perfectly quiet. To make matters worse, when Grandpa Pig builds a castle for the boys, Peppa immediately climbs down from the treehouse and asks if she can come in. And when her request is obviously denied, she returns to the treehouse, acting like she couldn't care less about the castle. Then, the boys said the girls can enter if they admit that the castle is way cooler than the treehouse. Peppa's friends don't even think twice before accepting the deal, but Peppa, being stubborn and proud, refuses to say it and stays alone in the treehouse. Yeah, she's not always the fun and fair girl we think she is. If you don't think this was a big deal, just keep watching this video, because we're about to go through a whole list of other mean things Peppa has done. Peppa and Susie Sheep are best friends and really like each other, but they've had a few fights since both of them can be pretty bossy. One of these fights was entirely Peppa's fault and started while they were playing a game in Peppa's room. After losing twice in a row to Susie, Peppa gets furious and accuses her of cheating without any proof. The two stop talking, but Peppa quickly starts missing her best friend and decides to apologize. The problem? She's so proud that instead of admitting she was wrong, she says, "I'm sorry for saying you cheated, even though you actually did." That apology doesn't make any sense. They only become friends again after Daddy Pig forces them to apologize at the same time, even though Susie didn't do anything wrong. And the worst part, right after that, Peppa starts arguing with Susie again when they play golf together. There are two things you can always count on in this show. The characters will always laugh and fall to the ground, and Daddy Pig will always be humiliated for either if weight or being a bit goofy. While almost every character on the show makes fun of Daddy Pig, one of the biggest bullies is his own daughter. Peppa constantly calls him Silly Daddy and loves pointing out how big his belly is. She has no shame in saying these things right in front of him, even though he almost always looks uncomfortable at these kinds of jokes. One time, Peppa went way too far with her jokes when Grandpa Pig built her a treehouse. She and George go inside, and when Mommy Pig asks to come in, Peppa says she'll only allow it if the secret password is said. And guess what the password is? Daddy's big tummy. Daddy Pig looks really uncomfortable hearing the secret password and says it's a silly one. He even asks Peppa to change it, but she refuses. Poor guy is forced to say the phrase just to be allowed inside, which is totally humiliating. The sad part is that Peppa only loves these jokes because the other adults make them too. Talk about a bad influence, huh? One of the characters who suffers the most from Peppa's mean side is her little brother George. We know she loves her baby brother, but sometimes she only cares about her own feelings and doesn't think about how George is feeling. Kicking him out of the treehouse was one example, but there are plenty of other moments, like when George caught a cold after playing in the rain without his hat. Even though the little guy was clearly feeling awful, Peppa downplayed it and said he wasn't that sick. That night, when they had to go to bed, George, because of his cold, kept sneezing a lot. Instead of being worried, Peppa just asked him to stop sneezing so loudly, as if that was something he could control. The next morning, when George woke up feeling better and super happy, Peppa didn't show even the slightest bit of joy for her little brother. Since she didn't sleep well because of his sneezing, she just stared at him with a blank face. And let's be honest, she was probably trying really hard not to yell at him for keeping her up all night. If she was that bothered, she could have just slept on the couch or in her parents' room. And if you hate getting sick like George, comment below with #George. While Peppa's dad works outside the house as an engineer, Mommy Pig works on the computer. Peppa and her younger brother love sitting on her lap to watch her work, and that's totally fine. But in one episode, Peppa suddenly decides to help her mom and starts randomly pressing the computer keys. Mommy Pig asks her not to touch it, but Peppa, using the excuse that she's showing George what not to do, just starts smashing the keyboard like crazy. The result is obvious. The computer crashes and completely stops working. Luckily, the problem wasn't permanent, and Daddy Pig managed to fix it by simply turning it off and back on again. But what if Peppa's disobedience had actually broken the computer? Mommy Pig wouldn't have been able to keep working and probably would have ended up getting fired. And all because Peppa ignored her parents and did something wrong, knowing full well she shouldn't have. By now, it's clear that Peppa can be insensitive, stubborn, proud, and disobedient. But on top of all that, she's also jealous. This becomes super obvious in the episode where the star of the show tries to learn how to whistle, but just can't do it no matter how hard she tries. She gets upset when Mommy Pig picks it up on her first attempt, and even more frustrated when George, who's younger than her, manages to do it pretty easily too. So Peppa calls Susie, hoping to vent about it, and is relieved when her best friend also doesn't know how to whistle. That is, until Susie figures it out right in the middle of their conversation. Peppa's reaction? She just hangs up on her friend. Susie must have been so confused because, from her perspective, Peppa ended the call for no reason at all. It's understandable to feel down when you realize you're the only one who can't do something, but Peppa's reaction was completely over the top. At least she eventually learns how to whistle and realizes that everyone has their own pace, and comparing yourself to others isn't always a good thing. In the episode Playground, Peppa's bossy personality takes center stage once again. The kids are playing on a jungle gym with a tire swing when she suddenly shows up, grabs the tire, and tells everyone they're not playing the right way. Then Peppa decides to show them how to really play. What does she do? She jumps into the tire, pretends to be a bird, and immediately gets stuck inside it. The funny part is that everyone laughs at her for being trapped, and Peppa gets annoyed. But now she's getting a taste of what Daddy Pig goes through all the time. At this point, we all know that Peppa thinks the world revolves around her, and she doesn't change that attitude even on her little brother's birthday. She gets super annoyed when George wakes her up early on his special day and complains about it. When her parents remind her that she woke everyone up early on her birthday, Peppa just replies, "But that was my birthday," as if she's somehow more important than her little brother. Throughout the whole episode, she seems bothered by George's obsession with dinosaurs and the fact that everything at his party revolves around them, even to the point where they celebrate at a museum full of dinosaur statues. But in the end, Peppa still wishes George a happy birthday and even draws a dinosaur for him, even though she originally planned to draw a flower, but decided to make something he actually liked. And at the end of the day, she gets used to the dino-themed party and ends up having a great time. She probably would have had even more fun watching our videos. So why not hit that subscribe button? That way, you'll never miss our daily uploads about your favorite animated shows. There was a time when Susie thought she was moving away because her mom was going to work on the other side of the world. When Peppa found out, she made a really cute card with a drawing of the two of them and even gave Susie her crown as a gift. But right after that, Mrs. Sheep got a phone call saying she didn't get the job, meaning they weren't moving after all. And what did Peppa do? She immediately took back the crown she had just gifted Susie, which made her friend a little sad. At least she let Susie keep the card and told her she could wear the crown whenever she came over to visit. But honestly, it wouldn't have hurt to let her keep it as a symbol of their friendship. Remember when Peppa wasn't allowed into the castle, so she acted like her treehouse was way better? She had a similar reaction when she found out she wasn't invited to Edmund Elephant's birthday party. She got all grumpy and said she wouldn't go to a baby's party anyway. But then Emily Elephant invited her to the exact same party, and guess what? Peppa accepted immediately. That's pretty ridiculous, don't you think? But to be fair, in that same episode, she agreed to stay and help out at the party along with the other older kids to make sure the younger ones had more fun, which was actually really nice of her. As we can see, even though Peppa is often full of herself and a little insensitive, she's always learning from her mistakes and becoming a more responsible kid. Everyone messes up, but everyone should grow from it too. We've got 2 more awesome videos on your screen so you can keep having fun. Just click on one. It's that simple. Thanks for watching and see you next time.